Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I made this illustration for my sister-in-law's wedding invitations. And yes, I did leave out the date because it's none of your business. So, the wedding is going to be masquerade themed and kind of spooky, and the colors are black, purple, and silver. I was so excited to do these invitations, I immediately was like, let me do these for you, because it's right up my alley. So I wanted to take some inspiration on how I illustrated my own wedding invitations. I'll link that video here. I wanted there to be a banner with their names on it, and then the bottom one would have the date. At first I was going to do random banner ribbons, but then I thought, hey, what if I made it like the ribbon that ties around the mask? And I thought that just made the most sense. It catches the eye, it flows the eye throughout the whole design really well, so I stuck with that, and I'm actually really glad I did that because it just makes sense. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of cross-hatching going on. I literally just use the Mercury ink brush in Procreate, and that's it. I use it at like 1% size, like very small, and I literally use it as I would with a ballpoint pen in real life. It looks very traditional, and I like that. I don't like those brushes that are like, oh, this does crosshatch shading for you, and that's good for some things, but I really like the smooth gradients I can get by doing this manually. I'm just not a fan of those cross-hatching brushes. They don't do the job very well, and I often find that the lines don't flow with the contours of what I'm trying to shade very well, so I would much rather just do it manually. And I really like the rough look. Like, it has a very smooth gradient, this kind of shading, but it also has some rough edges that make it look very traditionally drawn, almost vintage. And I thought that would go with the theme very well. I did it for my invitations as well. And I figured that I would tie in the color components later on. You'll see me do that. So I'm just leaving this banner white and with its shading. I'm also adding some tears onto the banner because I think that adding tears to text banners makes it look a lot more detailed and interesting to look at. So, as I mentioned before, the wedding colors are going to be black, silver, and purple. And I really wanted that accent color purple to pop because, I mean, I can't really replicate silver in this drawing unless I went to the printers and was like, hey, can you put a silver foil on everything? You know what I mean? And I think it's such a bold, royal, fancy color. So I made the mask in the very center, the purple component. And this is the part that took the longest, was doing the crosshatch shading for the mask. And I'm really glad I did this just how I would with a ballpoint pen. This mask is going to have a lot of detail, a lot of swirlies all over it, a lot of doily kind of detail work done. So, oh my gosh, this took forever. So on the layer underneath that is colored purple, I did do some soft highlights and shadows using the airbrush tool. Just really general contrasts for how the mask is shaped. I focused more of the highlights on like the tip of the nose, where the forehead would be, where the cheekbones would be, things like that. And then on a layer on top of that, that is where I'm doing all of this ink work, is right on top. I didn't want to have them on the same layer just in case, you never know. When I tell you this took the most time, I really mean it. So while I draw, I do enjoy listening to a good podcast, and I actually wound up going on to Deep Dive here on YouTube. They do a lot of, deep dives on pop culture. They did an entire series just about Britney Spears and her conservatorship and the whole Free Britney movement. When I tell you, I watched the entire series while working on this. I'm being serious. Each of those episodes are about like 45 minutes long. Some of them are like an hour long, and there's 7 of them. So let's just say my hand was tired. And I don't know why I do this just with my Apple Pen for the most part. I don't do it with anything else I draw with. I grip that thing like I'm holding on to dear life, and I don't know why. I don't know why I'm like so aggressive with it. But that, in combination with all the cross-hatching I'm doing, oh my god, my hands were tired. Very tired. I just really wanted to make sure that this was the best I could possibly make it. I am so glad I did it manually. I still stand by that. Because all of the shading, it almost resembles pointillism, but not really, and it has cross-hatching and a lot of nice texture that moves with the contours of the mask and all the scrollies. It goes with the contours of those. It reads as a 3D object rather than just something that has cross-hatching over it that's flat, you know? And I also tend to enjoy creating dramatic lighting in all of my artwork, and that was no exception here. I did really high contrast work. I also think that the mood of that goes with the theme of the wedding. It's going to be kind of moody, a little spooky, very romantic. So I just really went to town on the shading under each and every little scrolly design. I did a drop shadow. But I also made sure to leave blank spots, especially in areas where there's a high point of highlight, like the tip of the nose on the mask or the brow bones. And once I was really satisfied with the shading, I actually went back in with the same brush, but using white instead of black, and I made really blinding highlights around all the details where the light would naturally catch it. Alright, so after all that was done, I really wanted to fill in some space. So I thought, you know, there's a lot of masks out there that have additional ribbons just for decoration, and I really wanted to tie in more of the black and purple. So I went in and I first used, I think it's a calligraphy brush pen in Procreate. I made one of the ribbons in black and erased it where it goes behind the main banner, and added white where there would be high points of highlight. And then I did the same thing. I used that calligraphy brush with a purple that matches the mask. And then I'm going in with that Mercury ink brush again in white this time and doing the highest points of highlights. I also did use it in black for the purple ribbons to show really intense shadow where it bends and hides behind the other banners in front of it. I really liked how these ribbons flowed around the mask and almost framed the whole piece in an asymmetrical way, and it just adds a lot of dynamic angles to the whole thing. It just looks really cool. I love it. I'm really happy with it. Again, those highlights really just make it pop. I did also add a very thin black outline on the purple ribbon just because I wanted it to match the rest of the drawing. And then I'm just adding more highlights to the mask again. Then I added some spooky spiderwebs to the eyes. I felt like it was missing something there. Then to balance out the asymmetry of the whole design, I added some borders around the top left and bottom right corners. And then I did this font and colored it in and made it all fancy looking with their names. The bottom's going to have the date, and then I'm going to be adding at the top and bottom all the information for the place, time, things like that. I hope you guys like this video. Please give it a thumbs up, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye!